Okay, looks like Facebook is working. Wonderful. So, hey guys, it is Janine. I am back at the nude beach. I have been a little away for a bit and I apologize. I had a death in my immediate circle and I've been dealing with family members with COVID. So things have been a little heavy on the front in my life. But I am back, and like I promised, I would be bringing a video on the 11 signs that you might be dealing with codependency. So if you are here with me live, make sure to comment so I know who you are, and I love you all, and let's get into this. So like I did a video a couple weeks ago on codependency. It's in the guides for any of you guys that want to check it out, that do not understand what codependency is. I'm not going to go into major details on what codependency is, but I will be going into the 11 key signs of what you might not know that you might be dealing with and struggling with codependency yourself. So I'm also going to talk about 3 simple things that you can do to move through this if these things resonate for you. So some people are codependents, and again, like I said, I'm not going to go into the specifics because I already did that. Hey Tegan, love you too. I'm so glad you're here. The first thing that before I go into everything is the awareness, okay? So we need to become aware of codependency. And like I said, I did the video before, so if you haven't gone, go check out my guides and check out that video because it goes really in depth. Okay, but we need to have insight. We need to take constructive like action towards healing and dealing and working through the things that we need to in order to get out of these struggles, right? So essentially, I'm going to lay out for you what codependency is, the 11 signs, and let's get started. So the first thing is a sign that you might be codependent yourself is that you're someone that really takes responsibility for solving other people's problems, okay? You really feel like you can't solve anybody's problems and that they can't fix on their own. So you have to go out of your way, and you feel scared that if you don't help these people with their problems, that they're going to leave you. And maybe you might think that you're going to, if you don't bring up this help and solve these people's problems, then you're going to feel not needed. So you try to fix all these things for people. This is one of the first signs of having codependency issues. Number 2 is you find it almost impossible to say no. So you have a hard time saying no. You end up giving way more into relationships than the other person, which makes you feel like you have to do all these things in order to make the relationship survive. So you, again, start giving more and more and more, and it ends up depleting you. Okay? And you take responsibility for this to keep the relationship together. But the thing is, it's not all up to you. Any relationship, whether it's a love relationship, whether it is a friendship, family, friend, whatever, it takes 2. So you can't be pulling the whole load. Okay? Number 3 sign that you might be suffering from codependency is you get really hurt or upset. You may feel bitter or resentment, and you feel like people aren't praising you or recognizing you or giving you credit for the things that you're doing. And because you're doing so much and you're giving so much and you're out there, you feel like you're being ripped off. You feel like you're being taken advantage of. You feel like you're being taken for granted, and that people don't actually recognize everything that you're doing. And the reason why you feel this way is because you're giving more than you should be. Okay? Number 4 is you may feel like you need to be in control all the time. And you try to avoid conflict or any kind of upset at any cost. And you're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that there's smooth sailing in all your relationships. So you'll put stuff aside. You'll do things that might not necessarily be something that you would do, or you would say things that you normally wouldn't say, just to not rock the boat and to make other people comfortable around you. And you do this because you want to avoid conflict. And with that, when you have to avoid conflict, if you end up saying these things or doing things that you really want to do, you end up getting into a panic because you feel like if you let the boat rock, well, again, the relationship will come to an end. So you do these things and you're afraid that this person might leave you, or that they might not need you, or that it's not going to be fulfilling your needs. So you're giving up parts of yourself for this relationship, and you're not valuing yourself. And the other people, you may feel that they're not valuing you either. It's because your needs are not being met. Okay? Number 5, guys, is you have a hard time trusting yourself. Okay? This is a really big one. So you have a hard time trusting yourself. You really feel like if you ever make a mistake, these people are going to abandon you. They're going to leave you. They're going to make you feel like crap. And again, it goes back to the last one, the conflict. And so a lot rides on you. And then there's a lot of pressure that's put on you. And you feel like these people are going to look at you weird, or they're going to treat you weird, or they're going to give up on you because you made a mistake. And this is a really heavy place and a really crappy mindset to be in. And like the pressure of feeling this breeds anxiety, it breeds stress, like it creates a lot more inside of us internally, right? And this pressure, so we do things more and more that builds up pressure, and then you feel like if you're not being perfect in this situation, you're going to screw up, and then everybody's going to be upset with you. And again, it's not meeting your needs, and it's not really meeting the other person's needs either, because that kind of leads into more people pleasing, right? So people pleasing and codependency go hand in hand. Okay, then we have number 6. So number 6, you feel like you're only valued in the relationship when you're being able to save another person, being able to fix them, give them, work through all of their problems, fix all their problems for them, clean up all of their messes and deal with their stuff, fixing everything for them where they don't have to deal with it. And you make sure to make room for these people because you feel that you have to almost be their savior. Okay? And it's up to you to do this. And so many people do this. I've done this, where I go out of my way to do things for people that is exhausting for me. And I have people coming at me, like with outside of work, right? Coming at me with all of their stuff. And I had to put up boundaries, right? We all have to put up the boundaries. Number 7 is that you may do anything to hold on to the relationship, even if it's unsafe or destructive towards you. So you may be willing to compromise on a lot. You may be willing to do a lot of things that you wouldn't normally otherwise do. And this can make you feel hang-ups in the relationship. It can breed resentment, anger, things like that. And then you get into like the survival mode, and you almost feel like you're alone in the relationship because you're doing so much. But the thing is, you're not actually in the relationship alone. You're just doing more than you should. So you're willing to compromise more things because you want to hang on to this relationship. And 95% of the time, those relationships are not the relationships that are meant for you. Okay, I want to reiterate that. We feel that if we don't speak up, or if we don't set healthy boundaries, that they're going to leave us. But at the end of the day, the people that are meant for you, they're going to stay. There's going to be healthy connection, right? There's a difference between a healthy connection and a codependent connection. And there's an easy way to get out of it, but of course there is a lot of drawbacks, right? You got to do the work. In this number 7 too, these people, this may be you, may not be, but you'll feel guilty for speaking up for yourself. You won't tell the other person again because you're afraid they're going to leave. So you'll just put up with things, and to the point where eventually this person's going to end up leaving anyways, because what? They're not meant for you. Number 9 is that you're willing to do anything to make the person feel better. Again, this kind of leads back to the other one about fixing problems. You want to solve their issues that are coming in. You want to save them from whatever is going on in their chaotic life, even if it's putting your own health and your own safety at risk. And this can be extremely dangerous for you. Extremely dangerous. But the thing is, we blindly, subconsciously are willing to do it. And the reward of this is feeling, again, like a savior. You're feeling like, oh, this person picks me. I help them. I solve their problems. This person needs me. No, they're just taking advantage. And they're putting you at risk. And this happens a lot. That's kind of the codependent, narcissistic, empathic relationship. Number 10 is you might have a hard time identifying your own feelings. So you might really struggle to know how you feel. Like what you like, what you like doing, where you like going out, what you like eating. You may be in a box kind of doing everything for other people, forgetting about your needs. And this is a big struggle in codependency Codependency. When you have codependent issues, you tend to forget about your stuff because you're doing everybody else's, and then we lose sight of what is really good for us, what makes us light up, what makes us feel good, what things we like to do. We tend to get lost in that sight because we're so focused on other people. Have you ever, I know a couple people, there's a movie, actually. I can't remember what movie it was, but there was a girl that every man that she dated, she ate the same kind of eggs as the dude. If anybody knows what movie that is, I can't remember the name of it right now, but she would eat all the eggs that the guys that she was dating. And then at the end, she didn't know what the hell kind of eggs she liked. She had to like really sit down and figure out with like tons of different plates of eggs, because there's so many different ways to make eggs. And she had to sit there and actually figure out what she liked, because she was doing things for other people to make them happy. And she lost sight of what she actually wanted. She's like, oh, well, this time I like scrambled eggs. No, I like these eggs. No, I like these eggs. You see where I'm going with this? Like we lose sight of our own identity because you get lost in these relationships with codependency. And this doesn't have to be with a loved one. This could be with family, friends, coworkers, things like that. Okay? Number 11, the last one, is that you need to not only feel important and valued, but you need to feel like you need worth in a relationship. Because when you're needed, when your partner needs you or other people need you, you get this sense of belonging. You're drawn to these people and you choose these partners out of a neediness, a crisis within us, and we struggle with this. And this is really serious and significant. So sometimes we tend to attract partners that have mental health issues or addiction issues or something else along that lines. And with that being said, I'm not saying that if you have a partner that has a mental issue or struggles with addiction that you're a codependent. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that those may be some codependent things to look at. And why am I in these relationships? Is it because I'm needed? Is it because this is the main reason why I'm here, because of these things? If you're with the person not because of that, then that's wonderful. But if you're there because you want to help them through these things, and it's not really a mutual scenario, you really have to look at that. So that's the 11 signs that you might be struggling with codependency yourself. With that being said, there's a couple simple ways that you can start dealing with these on your own. And the first one is really, again, doing soul searching, guys. Spending some time with yourself, figuring out who you are, what's important to you, what your needs are, what makes you tick, what makes you smile, what makes you jump for joy. Who are you outside of being with these people? What are your needs and what lights you up? What do you love? I'm connected with all 11 points here. I've struggled with codependency my whole life, really. Well, I'm glad you come to these videos, right? Because I put these out here to help give information so that you can look at these things and work through them. And I'm also here if you want to work with me one-on-one. I will gladly work with you. This is what I do, right? So again, back to what I was saying. Look at what you're really good at, really developing aspects, looking within, finding what it is outside of everything else that creates you, that brings harmony to you, brings happiness and joy to you. Because when you're in a codependent relationship, again, it doesn't matter if it's a love relationship, it doesn't matter if it's with family, with friends, with a child. At the end of the day, if you're not doing these things, you're codependent in there. If you're doing all of those lists of 11 things that I just listed, you have codependency problems. So starting with these, like the last thing that I just mentioned that can help, looking inwards, finding out what you like, what lights you up. Really ask yourself that question. What do you love? It's really good to develop these things, to look outside of us, because this creates more balance in our lives. What we can do for other people after, once you find that balance, you can do these things for other people because it's not going to deplete you, right? Because you'll have boundaries, which leads me into the second thing you can do is to learn to create healthier boundaries. This is so important. Knowing where your limits are and how you're able to be helpful and supportive for other people and their things instead of just being bombarded and lost within them is extremely important. And like when you set these boundaries, usually these boundaries can be healthy, right? Once you have boundaries in place, these relationships that you're in, like you don't have to, I'm not saying leave all your relationships, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that when you learn these things, you can turn a really codependent, toxic relationship into a very healthy, supportive one, okay? And so first and like second is getting those healthy boundaries. When you have healthy boundaries, it creates a lot more bliss. You're not going to feel as stressed out. You're not going to feel worn out. You're not going to feel bitterness or resentful or overwhelmed with other people's problems because you've set your firm boundaries, because you know your identity. You know what's going to take you off that tipping edge. You're going to know how to support yourself and then be able to support them. And once you can do that, well, then that's when you build healthy relationships because you're grounded, right? You know your center, you know what works. And then we go into the last one, which is knowing the difference between empathy and sympathy. We can be very empathetic to people. We can be very sympathetic to people around us that are dealing with these hardships. But it's knowing the difference. And I'm going to be doing, my next video is going to be way more in depth. I'm going to go into the difference between sympathy and empathy, because a lot of times we get these things confused too. And then we end up, again, getting exhausted and drained and worn out extremely quickly. So the last thing that we can do is, without saying anything, it's really working on our deeper stuff. And that is the attachment injuries, the emotional wounds that I've talked about in many previous videos. My last video on codependency, I went into them. Okay. And we look deeper at the attachment injuries, like the emotional wounds that are holding on to us, the stuff that is perpetuating and causing us to act in codependent ways. And you can read through this. I've got all my stuff is in here in the guide section. I also do videos on YouTube and I have a podcast. So I go into a lot of stuff, guys. So check it out because I give you this information because I want to help you. Like, I've been through all of this and it was a struggle, but I don't deal with this stuff anymore because I've worked through these things. And there's easy ways to do that. And that's why I offer my help, because, well, I know how to not let it deplete me anymore. I know the difference. And sometimes we get stuck and it's okay. But that's when you reach for help. Okay. And there's so many different support groups out there. There's so much stuff online, but sometimes we need a little bit of extra help. And that's where I come into play. So if you guys want and need extra help, send me a message. Let's talk. Let's book you in for a free call to see what things you need to work through, because when you're doing the deeper work, it can be scary. We can tend to dive into it and then we regress from it because it becomes too tough, and then we go back into our old habits. And I have tools to help you get out of that. And they're really easy and they're not hard and they're not scary once you get into it. It's super fun. But knowing this, like knowing the depths of where these wounds happened and how to cleanse them so that they're not coming back up and popping up into these relationships that you're trying to build or the relationships that you're already in. You're gonna, like, when you go deeper and you do the inner healing, which again can be extremely scary, but it's not an actual scary process, guys, when you have the right tools. Your behaviors and those around you are going to change. Your whole life is going to transform between your, like, outside of you. And it's going to seem like night and day. You're going to be like, whoa, why was I doing all these things? And then you're going to know actually the reasoning, because everybody's story is different, right? We all have different emotional wounds and they all stem from somewhere, but it all leads to the same things: codependency, narcissism, toxic relationships, toxic bonding. All these things are lists. These names that I've just listed off are videos that I've done. Go check them out, and you're going to be able to dive deeper into that. So if you need help outside of these videos, because a lot of times people do, we get lost because there's so much information coming at us. Send me a message. I am here. This is what I do for a living, and this is what I love. It's what I absolutely love. I've dove into many years of schooling to do this kind of stuff to help people. And when you're doing this, when you're going in, if you don't need my help, that's okay too. Like it's totally fine. You know, we're all on different journeys. We all need different things. But just understanding, going in deeper and finding out the root cause and healing that, so that you're able to figure out the unhealthy patterns and the behaviors that you're projecting out and you're also attracting in. And that way, once you can get through these things, you can draw in the two-way relationships with no more burden, no more stress, and no more one-sidedness. There's going to be no more codependency. Because, and the thing is, codependency is a complicated one. It is a complex thing. And so many people struggle with it. And it can be extremely stressful. It can be extremely overwhelming, but there's a process to dealing with it and healing from it that's a lot more manageable and stress-free. And there's so many techniques. Like I said, I have videos. Go listen to my videos. They're going to help you understand things more. I give you little tidbits in order to start implementing, because sometimes that's all you need. But again, if you need more, remember, I'm only a message away. Send me a message. So next video I'm going to be doing is on sympathy and empathy and the difference between the two, because we get it mixed up. And for if Tegan, thanks for coming along the ride for the whole journey today. For anybody else that is catching this later, you guys have a wonderful day. And comment down below. Tell me about what's going on with you, what you're struggling with, what's something that maybe you want me to bring a topic up in another video. If you have questions, type them in. I want to know what's happening. Like, I'm here as a support network. This is a community that we're building to help each other. So let's do this. Let's have a conversation about it. Message me, type in the comments. Let's talk soon. You have a good day.